All right, I want to read you guys something really quickly. A credit card is pretty much non-negotiable for travel. You need it for hotel holds, rental cars, emergency bookings, fraud protection. Without one, you're basically flying without a net. Now, I heard this from every travel blogger, every travel website, every person that I told that I was traveling solo. And you know what? I never had a credit card. Not one single time. And this is what really happened. If you're new to the channel, hello and welcome. My name is Christina. I was a full-time nomad for 7 years, traveling the US, Southeast Asia, and Europe, and these are some of my stories. Let's talk. Now, as I said before, when I traveled, I wasn't on vacation. I was a full-time nomad. That means everything that I had was in my backpack with me, and the money that I had in my bank account was the money that I had, period. That was it. And when I tell people that, especially people who travel a lot, the ones with like the miles and the points and the Chase Sapphire credit card with the travel insurance, they look at me like I just described something completely reckless. And I mean, that's probably fair. But you know what? I did it anyway. See, the thing is, I didn't have horrible financial habits. Not horrible. And I didn't have a lifestyle that kept me from getting a credit card. I was just in my early 20s and I didn't have one. But I didn't let that stop me. This video is for two kinds of people. The first is the people who have asked me, and probably themselves, as they're 3 threads deep on Reddit, do I have to have a credit card to travel? And the second is for the people who have been told they're not ready to travel solo yet. And I've got some feelings about that one. Situation 1, the hotel hold. So you probably know, when you check into a hotel, they ask for a credit card to put on file. Well, if you give them a debit card, that puts a hold on the money in your account. It's for incidentals, so it's usually not the full price of the room. It's a percentage. But when you have a credit card, you don't have to think about it. You can sign in, swipe your credit card, and just forget. But when you only have the money that you have and a hold gets placed on your room, on your card, then that money is not usable until it gets returned, which is usually 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 business days after you check out. So that was the first time that not having a credit card really kind of became an issue while traveling, because I was changing hotels every 5 nights or so. And so I would check in, that money would be put on a hold, and then I'd check out and have to wait for it to be released, but I'd still check in at the next place, and then that would be put on a hold. So I was constantly having to do math in my head of what money was coming back to me, what was frozen, and when I was getting it back. And luckily, because it was Southeast Asia, hotel rooms are, you know, less than $100 a night. 40, 50, 60 maybe. So it was never more than $100 that was on hold. But like I said, once you change hotels so many times, that starts to build up. And it's an ongoing tally that's in your head that you kind of always have to remember when it's coming back. Situation number 2, the ATM skim. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys about the time my card number got skimmed from an ATM machine in Bali. Yeah, I used it to take money out, and somebody had put a skimmer on it, and they got my card number, and all of a sudden in my bank account, I noticed money moving that I hadn't moved. So I called my bank right away and told them, and thank goodness they refunded the money, but they also canceled my card, which, yeah, that was the right move on their part. But also I was in Bali and my bank's in the US, and just told you didn't have a credit card. So then I just had to wait. I had to wait for them to ship me a new debit card in the mail from the US to Indonesia through customs. And that takes about 9 days, apparently. So for 9 days, I had nothing. I had the money that I had, that I had taken out already. And what I did is I made some friends at the hostel that I was staying at. And I explained the situation to them. And on 3 separate occasions, I met someone that I felt like I trusted and they could trust me. And I Venmo'd them money from my account. And then we would walk together to the ATM. They would take the money out and give it to me. And that's how I got by until my card came. And thank goodness that people are willing and kind and nice and helpful, because I don't know what I would have done otherwise. But it put me in a weird situation because I also couldn't leave that hostel, not only because my card was getting delivered there, but I couldn't check in anywhere else. I was literally stuck for 9 days. And this isn't a story about how having a credit card would have changed the situation, because a card number can get skimmed anywhere, right? But it's a big difference when it's a credit card versus your debit card, which is real money. And I understand that difference now. Situation number 3. The moment I had to make a real decision. I spent the last of the money that I had getting to Australia. I'm gonna let that sink in for a second. Not the second to last of my money, the last of my money. And I arrived in Australia with no money, no plane ticket home, no plan. And if you saw my earlier video about doing work exchange at a hostel in Australia, that was this situation. I made beds in exchange for a place to stay because I was literally, utterly, not metaphorically, broke. And the hostel had this thing that they did called family meals, where people from the hostel would get together and cook one giant meal that could feed a lot of people. And it was usually spaghetti, because noodles go a very long way when you're feeding a lot of people. And let me tell you, I ate a lot of spaghetti in Australia. I'm gonna be so honest. The real problem was I had no idea how I was going to get from Australia to anywhere. I almost got a job in Australia. I actually went to the first night of training as a bartender. And at the end of the night, they said, okay, make sure everyone brings a copy of their work visas back tomorrow. And I did not have one of those. And they cost a few $100s to get. So I couldn't get a job. Now, I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this, but I actually started to look up how I can get myself deported. You know, just cause enough of a problem that they put me on a plane and said, hey, go home. Thank God I didn't do that, but it's something I really researched because I just didn't know what else to do. But what I actually did is start a GoFundMe. And I'm going to be honest, because I think a lot of people will think it's cringe or embarrassing, and maybe it is, but I'm fortunate enough that I had great friends in my life that ultimately donated enough money to help me get a plane ticket to return back to the US. Here is the part that I want you to hold on to, though, because even through the GoFundMe, the deportation research, the spaghetti, the skimmed card number, through all of that, I was never scared because I knew I would be okay. And I also knew, and this sounds crazy, but I knew it was going to be a story that I could share for years to come. And hello, look at me now. Now, I'm not telling you to do what I did. All I'm telling you is that the worst case scenario that travel advice is trying to protect you from, it happened to me in multiple countries, multiple times, and it was survivable. And not only survivable, there's still some of the best stories that I have. Situation 4, what I actually got right. Here's the thing about Southeast Asia, is it is predominantly a cash economy. So transportation takes cash, food vendors take cash, even hostels take cash. And because every time I went to the ATM, I was charged 2 fees, the local ATM fee, and then my bank charged me a fee, I trained myself to only withdraw money once a week when I was there. And that's what I did. I would go to the ATM once a week. I would take out about $250 US equivalent. And that was it. I would put the money in my room somewhere. I would hide it. And every day when I left for the day, I would take out about $15 to $20 US. And that was my money for the day. And $15 to $20 can get you far in Southeast Asia. I mean, transportation, food, things to do, it's all possible as long as you stay away from the tourist areas. So that's what I did. And even though an ATM fee sounds like a bad thing, it actually kept me on track because there was no credit card bill coming at the end of the month with numbers that I had forgotten about because it's so easy to swipe. I knew how much money I had, how much I was spending. You know, it was actually accidentally one of the more financially disciplined times in my life. Situation 5, what I know now. All right, now I have a little bit more financial stability than I did back then. And I also have a credit card now, yay. So I will say that. What I won't say is that I couldn't have done it without one, because that's not true. I did. I went without one every single time. Now, do I think that you should purposefully travel without a safety net? No. Do I think that you should do what I did? Not if you can help it. But here's what I do believe. The travel advice that says get a travel credit card before you go is absolutely correct. But for a lot of people, that makes travel feel farther away than it actually is. So I would rather tell you to go imperfectly than to not go at all. The backup plan doesn't have to be a credit card. The backup plan can be people. People at a hospital. Oh my God. Holy shit. All right, y'all, I'm sorry if the angle looks wildly different, but the wind just blew my camera over completely. So the struggles of filming alone, woohoo! So where were we? Yeah, the backup plan. The backup plan does not have to be a credit card. The backup plan can be people too. You know, people at a hostel in Bali or friends that donate to your GoFundMe from the other side of the world. That can also be a backup plan. The thing nobody tells you about traveling with a credit card is that it is harder. Your money is your money. There is no float. Holds can be a real problem, and ATM fees are death by 1,000 cuts. And yes, there is a version of this story that ends with spaghetti and a GoFundMe. But you know what? I did it across many countries for multiple months. And it didn't stop me, which is the whole point.
Hi. I like your hair color.
Thank you.
And I like your water bottle.
Thank you.
Sorry for interrupting.
It's okay. The worst case scenario happened multiple times in different countries with different problems. And I'm still here telling the stories because I went anyway with what I had and I figured it out. Now, if you're waiting till you have the perfect financial setup to travel, I understand that. But I want to also offer the evidence that maybe you don't have to wait as long as you think. Now, I need you guys to drop in the comments, what is one financial thing that is keeping you from booking your dream trip right now? I want to know. Maybe I'll even make a video about it. And if you haven't seen my last video where I talk about the steps you need to take to make solo travel a reality, you can watch that right here. My name is Christina. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.